I do fantasy football.
It's my quarterback. If you guys do that, man, it's unfair.
How's your fantasy team looking this year?
I won $1 million.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I'm Heather Maruli, and you're listening to the My Fantasy Wife podcast. And I love Rob Gronkowski, and so should you.
My Fantasy Wife podcast.
Style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable.
Blair.
I watched 40 minutes of Space Jam this weekend. It's 40 minutes of my life. I'm not going to get back.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Gary.
They had already announced he was leaving.
Well,
he just didn't want to wait out the 30. You know how when you quit a job, you got to give them 30 days or whatever. He's
2 weeks. You've never had a real job, have you?
No.
He is the man in the fantasy world.
Drew.
You're not a Peyton Manning fan,
I'm not a Manning fan.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Lewis.
You love Burger King.
Yeah, I like Burger King.
Yeah.
Not the game. We're talking about practice, man.
You're listening to My Fantasy Wife podcast. www.myfantasywife.com.
Welcome, listeners, to the My Fantasy Wife podcast. Where lots of sports stuff happens that affects lots of people, including their own. I'm your host, Miss Blair Mr. Gary Hames. Blair Postman is in New York this weekend and has not returned yet. If she comes back, she'll be sitting in this chair again next week. Otherwise, we'll muddle on like this. Also, none of our other regular people were willing to have anything to do with this either. So here in the studio with me is the backbone of the show.
Oh,
one
yes.
true person here through thick or thin. I'll call him the man about town, but in my normal voice, not that silly voice that Blair uses. Mr. Louis Bishop.
Yeah, thank you for remembering my name. Hi,
Yeah,
Gary.
absolutely. It took me a second, but I'm glad I didn't have to remember the fat kid because I never. It would be 20 minutes. I'd be like, I can see him. I know what he looks like.
Right. I can't, but I can't put it together though.
Yeah. So, anyway, it's just the two of us today, but you know, it's the two best of the regular people.
Oh,
most,
yeah,
most of
definitely.
the laughs are still here in the room. We lose the oppressive, feminist, anti, anything politically correct. You know. And we won't have to stop in the middle of the show, so I tie my shoes or whatever. So it ought to flow better, I would think.
We'll see.
All right. So let's go forward and see what we can. At this point we normally introduce a sponsor, but since I didn't really come up with a sponsor, I guess we're gonna skip that part and just go right into the exciting events of the week.
So where were you last week? You were gone last week. Right? Were you?
Yes.
You had to work?
Yeah, I don't go anywhere. If I'm not here, it's really only either I died or I had to work.
How many times have you
Since
died?
I'm here today, I didn't die. Well, I did have that. I did have that heart surgery a couple of years ago, and then
Right.
I just had my appendix out one time. And
Oh yeah, that was like what? That was this past year, right?
Yes, that was just in the spring, and according to my notes, people generally have that at about 25.
Right.
Which is odd. I had all the old people's diseases when I was young, and now I'm getting all the young people's diseases when I'm old. There's something weird in my DNA. I don't know.
You're like the Benjamin Button of diseases.
So it's both old ones when I was young and young ones when I was old. He was born old.
He was born
something?
old and
Yeah.
then become young. Yeah.
So this goes both ways.
But I was saying like your immune system is backwards.
Yeah, I guess.
Or whatever. I guess immune system would be the correct word, but your diseases and disorders are backwards.
Double backwards though, because I got shingles at 19, but now I'm having an appendicitis at 51.
Right.
So I don't know. That's weird. Fascinating. I'm fascinating. I don't know what to tell you. I'm darn interesting.
Is it weird that that you're gonna be talking more? I mean, you talk a good amount anyways, but I'm saying like you're gonna be talking.
Shut up.
Yeah, you're gonna be talking more this time, so it's you're sitting in the chair where Blair normally sits.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, it's mighty comfortable. I don't think I'm giving it back next week.
So it's I don't know, it's going to be a weird transition next week whenever Blair comes back, and she's going to want her chair back, and then you're going to be...
Well, Blair, in her workmanlike way, carries the show.
Right,
that she
of
makes
course.
the trains run on time.
Right.
However, if you need some humor
Right.
or something interesting to fight the the boredom that comes along with the the train schedule,
Sure.
we turn to you and I.
Right.
And so I think today we'll have very little train schedule. I can already tell you where the train is crashing off the track through the forest already. But it might be funny.
Right.
I don't know. So, sports.
Sports.
You like sports?
I like sports.
Cool, me too. I actually, because Blair's been in New York for 4 days, I've been listening to ESPN radio at like 3 o'clock in the morning since I don't go to sleep when she's not here. It's my rule. And I'll tell you, I've heard some strange things.
Example?
The strangest of which I heard last night. And I'm telling you, I know I heard this on ESPN radio, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, there's nobody listening. This is a huge... If you like football, you're going to think this is the strangest thing that you've ever heard. And the strange thing is it's successful. So there's a place in the state of Arkansas, outside of Little Rock. It's called Pulaski Academy. And they've won 6 state championships since 2003, according to the articles I found on them. And their main guy is Kevin Kelly. He's the coach of this Pulaski Academy.
Right.
And he has some odd ideas on how to run a football team.
A high school.
Yes, high school football team.
High school football team.
6 state championships in 15 years. And they make the finals or the semifinals almost every year. They don't always go all the way. But he's got...
So a giant powerhouse of
yes.
high school Arkansas football.
Right, but let me tell you what he does. He totally rejects the notion of punting and returning punts. So if it is 4th and 25 from their own 1-yard line, they don't punt.
You'll go for it.
They go for it every single time, no matter what. And when it comes time to receive the other team's punt, they never return the punt. They put 11 guys on the line and try to block it every single time.
So no return, no kick.
Right. And the guy is like some sort of advanced degree mathematics, and he calculates that doing it that way results in more points for his team and less points for the other team than if he did it the traditional way. And he's got 6 championships in 13 years, and they go to the finals almost every year. So clearly there is some method to that madness. And you got to take into account, okay, if you never punt, there's no element of surprise. The other teams can prepare and they know what you're going to do. Like it's always, if it's 4th and 1, the end of the game, you don't know what the other team's going to do. They know what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be so good at it, like in blocking the punt. If you know the other team's going to try to block your punt every single time, you practice for it, you put extra guys on line, whatever. So you would think like the percentage of success for that team that's trying to block would be low.
Yeah, but the punt is one of the wild card plays in football. That's one of those plays where 9 times out of 10 that the guy will make maybe 10 yards, 15 yards tops if he doesn't get tackled right whenever he gets the ball.
Right.
But that one time, that can be the game changer. That could, especially in football where the time can change. Once it changes, it's so hard to get the momentum back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. And the fact is they practice all the time. Like in a normal football week, they run a punt block practice maybe a couple of times one day, and that's it. They practice this thing like a half an hour a day. So they're really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's the second most bizarre thing that they do. The most bizarre thing that they do is that they onside kick every time. Every single time. So
how does that? But like you would give the other team such an advantage. You basically be starting off at their own 50 or at the 50 or at your 40 or something like that.
Well, you would think, but here's the thing: the high school kicking games aren't great. In the NFL, your guy can boom a 60-yard field goal.
Right.
So in the high school games, you don't give up a lot of field goals unless it's really close. So they don't have to worry about that as much as you might think.
Right.
And so I guess he says that typically if the other team recovers the ball, it has to go. So they kick up from a little closer in high school, a little closer to the center of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So if it goes a required 10 yards, I think they kick from the 40. So it goes at least to the 50. Mm-hmm. And generally it goes a little, they can't drop it right at 10 yards. Generally it goes about to the opposing team's 45. So, it's not like it's, and they're going to get tackled because you've got all your guys up in the front trying to tackle them. So it's not like they're going to run it, set up a run back and run it back. And the stat that he gave out, any game that they have recovered at least 2 onside kickoffs, they're undefeated in his 13 years there, 14 years there, whatever it is. They've never lost if they recover at least 2. And they were telling, ESPN guy was asking about this game. There was a game in the state playoffs a couple of years ago where they took the opening kickoff, ran down and scored, and then onside kicked successfully 4 times in a row and went on to score a touchdown each time. So there was a point in the game in the second quarter where they were ahead 35-0, and the other team hadn't run a play yet.
And that totally just, yeah.
I mean, that's just unbelievable. So I don't know. I just thought that was a bizarre, intriguing sports story, and I'm really praying that guy with 6 state championships gets a college coaching job, so we can see that like in
I was just about to ask
in the
that,
SEC.
do you think that would be able to go over in the college?
I have no idea if it would work, and I don't think we'll ever get to find out because I think that's probably too extreme for. If you hire that guy and let him run that and it doesn't work, you are going to look like that you're going a little bit out on a limb with him if you're some athletic director somewhere. So I don't know.
He's kind of like the Mike Tomlin of high school, because Mike Tomlin, he'll always, he's been doing the 2-point conversion.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they go for 2 every time too. By the way.
Oh okay.
Yes.
I mean that makes sense.
Yes.
Why would you not do that too?
Well, and he says it's all mathematics. He says if there's a formula for all of this stuff, and they've looked over time, and it generates more points to do it that way, by and large. And you can't argue with him because he's got 6 state championships. But that cracked me up in the car last night.
So like you're in the car, so you sit in the car to listen to.
Well,
the
I
radio?
was driving
Oh,
around.
okay.
Yeah. No. Yeah, my God, I was like, this bed is really comfy, but I think I'm gonna go in the car and listen to it.
Well, I didn't know. You said that you do weird things whenever
I do
Blair's not around.
do some weird things. Well, I've been eating really poorly. That's the main thing that I do. Well, not poorly. I've been going to good restaurants and eating real food, but it's just fattening, I guess.
Right.
I think I've gained about 10 pounds. And she's eating in like Manhattan bistros too, I'm sure. So she's probably gained 10 pounds too. So we'll be old and fat together, I guess. So anyway, so that's the Pulaski Academy. So eventful week in sports. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Did you see the NBA, the Gordon Hayward injury?
Oh my God. Okay. I saw on Facebook like everyone's putting like I had no idea who this dude was, right? Because I don't follow the NBA like that,
right?
But I'm like, okay, but no one put up any photos or any stories. So I go and I Googled this guy's name and the photo. I just saw the photo,
right?
And I'm like, I'm not watching this. I've seen gross stuff like this before.
Yeah.
What I always do, I always watch it. And then I'm grossed out, and then I watch it again, I'm grossed out again.
Right.
But this time, I was like, you know what? I'm not putting myself through this agony just to see I know what's going to happen. I see the end result. Like,
it was horrifying. Oh,
my. Like, the people in the photo I kept seeing was him there, and you could see the people that are in the good seats, like, behind the basketball goal, all, like, terrified, of course. And there's one dude, if you look at the photo, that's just, like, just blank face, like, he's not paying any attention. But, oh, my God, so disgusting. I mean, his leg was like an accordion. It was awful.
Well, there was that one guy that was cheering and clapping because he was a Cavs fan.
Really?
No,
no,
not really. But it would have been great. I would have,
Right.
hire a brass band and they just start playing some Sousa music because they're so happy because their team. See, that's the thing about that. Like, if you really stop to think about it, Boston, and I'm really sorry Drew's not here because I believe that's Drew's team.
That is Drew's team.
Yeah, and they make this huge free agent signing. He was going to be one of the best players on the team.
4 years, $128 million.
Yes, and in game 1 of the contract, the guy turns dislocates his ankle so badly that the toes are facing his backside instead of the front side.
Right.
Like, it's just unbelievable.
And that was the worst part of of course the leg break was bad, but I don't think you would have saw it, like the socks and the stuff that he had on.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be able to tell a little bit, but being that his ankle was twisted around, it reminded me of, are you a wrestling fan? We were, we talked about that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So like in the probably late 90s, early 2000s, Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, do you remember Sid Vicious or, Psycho Sid from WWF back in the day? Anyways.
Yeah.
So he breaks his leg in a match like that. And it is so he goes on, and it's just like one of those things, like he goes on the second turnbuckle to do like a high boot, and he jumps off and lands weird on the foot he was landing on.
Right.
And his leg just breaks underneath of him, like in 4 spots, like that dude's did. I mean, the ankle might have been dislocated also, but it's like he pulled it up. It was so disgusting looking, and that's what it reminded me of. Like, but so does that guy get the money still? Like, I mean, he's gonna come back.
Yes,
of
well,
course.
those contracts are guaranteed. If he was in football, they'd cut him. He'd get this year's money,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
in football.
Yeah, in football, nothing's guaranteed. So, but that's the difference between the NBA and the NBA has gotten stupid with the amounts of money too. Like in the last year or two, the cap has gone up so much. You're getting guys getting 60 and 80 and $100 million you've literally never heard of. Like I don't know. And Gordon Hayward, he's a good player, but he's not like superstar. Like he's one of the 20 best players in the NBA. He's not one of the 5. He's not LeBron or Kobe or like that level of like one name.
But is he like the guy that could? Well, he's definitely the one-name guy now because everyone knows him because he broke his leg disgusting.
Right. Yes, right. Nah, he's like he'll be an all-star. He's a borderline all-star. Like, he'll make the all-star team 3 or 4 times in a 12-year career. So, but
is he like the kind of guy that'll get you over the hump? Like he's like the.
Well, yeah, that's what they're hoping. You know, they've got they signed Kyrie from Cleveland to play the point, and they need guys that, since he's a point guard, he can distribute it to, and he's the guy that's going to stand off on the wing. Kyrie draws a double team, pass it to him, and he can either shoot or drive to the basket, and because he's got a little opening because they're worried about the number 1 option.
Sure.
And so you need that in the NBA. You need backup guys, but the money's just stupid. $120 million to that guy. When I was in D.C., I was a huge Wizards fan, and I can't remember the dude, but they had a guard who was borderline like max contract at that time level, and they were back and forth about whether to sign him for $119 million for 7 years as one of the best players in the league. And now, that's you got 3 or 4 guys on your team making that kind. It's just stupid. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you generate, they're not losing money.
Right.
The owners aren't losing money.
That's the thing. Everyone always complains. I'm like, the owners are the guys that's making the giant money. Like, these dudes aren't overpaid. They're just getting paid what they're worth or what. And they're probably worth more, but, the owners aren't going to be in the poorhouse.
Well, let me ask a question. So there's a comedy club in town, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So if they charge $1 million a seat and people would come, like you get full 50, 60 people in the house every night, would you feel guilty? Would you feel bad? Would you give them the money back if they wanted to give you like $5 million to come do a bingo show?
Yeah, probably.
Really?
You do it for the art.
Right. Yeah. Because I think that would actually, I think that'd make you lazy and your comedy wouldn't be as good.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
yeah.
So.
No, yeah. That's the thing with comedy, Gary. You don't understand. You want to be poor. That's the thing that helps.
Well, I know that Blair certainly feels that way. In fact, it's not good enough for her to be poor. She wants me to go along with her.
Right.
So, no, I know. The little red bird of happiness is chuckling when he heard that there.
It is, yeah.
All right, so let's see. Where were we? The NBA. So I watched a couple of games. Nothing to do at night, off from work, wife in New York. I watched a couple of games this week. I watched Alonzo Ball score, I think, 3 points for the Lakers. Now, do you know that dude?
Yes.
And his father?
I know his father more
is
than,
a piece of work, man. And they interviewed him after the game, and man, he just got so outraged that anyone would question how talented his son was after he scored 3 points, I think, in the opening game.
I feel that guy's probably going to be a bust. He's going to be. He'll be in the league for a few years, but he'll never. There's too much hype that is his dad.
Well, his dad's not helping him.
Right.
I'll tell you that. I feel sorry for him because he didn't ask for any of that. Like his dad is uncontrollable. And some of the things he's done have been really asinine, As coach of, the junior level kids still, the youngest brother's still playing, on the travel teams at the high school level. And I remember there was some story the other night. He pulled I guess a couple of weeks ago, he pulled the team off because he thought the referee was a bad referee. And it happened that it was a female referee, and he made some comments, and so you don't need that. Because it's interesting. He scored 3 points the first night, the home opener, his first game in the NBA, and then the second game, I think he scored 29 points. He ran wild, and he almost had a triple-double. He was 1 assist short of a triple-double. And so, you look at those two things, and to me that says, man, this is tough. It's the NBA, and you're 19 years old, is he? And you got your dad running his mouth all the time. I just think you're going to see a lot of inconsistency like that. He's very talented.
And the shoes are awful.
Yeah. No, they're awful. Yes. That whole thing is ridiculous. Although, to be honest with you, I don't think the Jordans would have done as well if they were ugly, really ugly. But I think he still would have sold a lot of shoes on his name, even if the shoes weren't as good looking as it turns out. They're pretty good looking shoes. But it's really, to me, it's as much about the athlete. If the guy turned into the best player in the NBA and became LeBron and for 15 years was a poster boy for the NBA, his shoes would sell even if they were ugly.
He's 19, by the way.
19, yeah. So I don't know. His dad, I don't know.
The shoes remind me of work shoes, non-slip shoes you could wear to work, if you're working in a kitchen or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what they look like.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
If you can you order pizza with these shoes?
No.
You know the answer. Yeah. So why would you want them?
Right.
Just go get one of those pizza ordering shoes.
I wonder if the coach, remember the coach for the Seahawks, now he's the coach for the NC State, right? The basketball team. Did he get a pair? Because we, remember before we were talking about that we wanted him to get a pair of those pizza ordering. Was it Pizza Hut? It was Pizza Hut, right?
Pretty sure the Seahawks are a football team.
No. The UNCW Seahawks.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the guy that coaches the Seahawks, that used to coach USC, is now coaching NC State.
I have to tell you, when you say basketball. Seahawks, my mind does not go to UNCW.
Does it?
No.
That's normally where the second place where people go. They normally go the
Seattle.
Well, I was going to say, that's interesting. I was going to say the Kandahar Seahawks, which is a soccer team.
Is it really? Where is that?
Kandahar is in the Middle East, and
okay,
yeah, and no.
Which people are these?
Who, the Kandaharians?
Whose minds automatically go to Kandahar?
Oh, everyone. That's the major Seahawks.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of Seahawks in the Middle East, so that would be a good a good nickname.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's a lot of time on the NBA, who's been in season for about 3 days. How about this? Did you see the baseball game last night?
I did not. I heard it on the radio, though. I was sitting out in my car because I got up and I was like, this bed's comfortable, but I want to sit out in my car
I know
and
the
listen
feeling.
to.
Yes, I don't blame you. That's a yeah. You can't watch baseball on TV. You got to get up and cheer because of all the action.
Right.
So little Jose Altuve evidently hit a lot of home runs in this series. He's the 5'2" and cute as a button too. Second baseman for the Astros. Won the game for him last night. But I'll tell you what, the thing that really won it for the Astros was that trade they made with Detroit to pick up the pitcher. I can't think of his name. He was the MVP of this series. And, man,
last night,
Justin Verlander. And they did not touch him.
Right.
In both the games he started, they did not touch him. He's a great pitcher. And
I was trying to remember where he played because I was like, I've heard this dude's name before, and I was trying to think. I was like, he didn't play for the Cubs.
No, Detroit. He came from Detroit. He's been with Detroit most of his career, and he won World Series there. And the guy was a stud. He still throws 190 miles an hour. But I think because Detroit had fallen, from prominence in their last in the division rebuilding, he wasn't pitching as well. But I don't think it's a loss of his ability. I think it's just hard to concentrate when you go out there and the team's not any good every night. You know what I mean? But man, they traded.
Well, it's
him
hard
into
whenever it's all on your back.
Right.
If you're the best player, especially in baseball,
it's like me in this podcast.
Right.
I know how talented I am.
Right.
But when I don't get to shine like I do today,
yeah.
it's hard to keep my head in the game. So So I don't know. I just hit this button. What does that do? Is that volume?
I think that is.
Oh, there we go. Yes, much better.
Go.
All right, sorry about that. A little technical difficulty here, folks.
No, you're fine.
Getting to see how the sausage is made. All right. So
Astros, Dodgers, right?
Well, it was Yankees were up 3-2, and the guy on ESPN was talking about the Yankees are a team of destiny. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, whatever. They were not a team of destiny, as it turns out. They were a team that was going to lose in the divisional round. So, I hate the Yankees, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed that from my commentary.
Who is your baseball team?
I grew up loving the Oakland A's, and then
Really?
Yes, because I liked the green and yellow uniforms. I thought they were really cool.
Okay.
And I picked all my teams as a kid from the uniforms. My two favorite football teams were the Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals because the Cowboys had the star, and the Bengals had those tiger stripes, which I thought were cool. Yeah. And then baseball, it was Oakland because I just thought that was a great color. I always liked that yellow-green color.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like on your Dr. Detroit picture there, that Dan Aykroyd with that yellow and green going. Yeah,
right.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then I switched to the Braves because they were on every day before cable really got started to where you could see all the teams every day.
Have you felt like maybe you should go back to the Oakland A's?
Well, I do like them. I like small market teams that are successful. I've been rooting for the Royals the last 5 or 6 years too, just because the Yankees used to just buy everybody,
right.
And that just gets old. I don't know. So I like it when the little guys succeed. And now baseball has these ridiculous contracts for airing their games. So even the Kansas City Royals of the world can make as much money as the Yankees on those TV contracts, and they end up able to compete now. So it's good. They figured out their money stuff pretty much in that sport.
Do you think that the Oakland A's, I wonder if the Raiders and the A's had a deal, because the Raiders played in the same stadium, right? Didn't they play in their baseball stadium?
Yes, that was one of the things. Oakland was known as one of the most difficult hitter stadiums because because they shared it with the football team, there was all this like extra room around the home plate, and so if you foul a ball off, most stadiums it would go into the stands, but in Oakland the catcher would run back and catch it, and so all the power hitting teams came in and didn't do as well. But yes, and the field was always shitty too. Like the football team would tear it up, and there'd be big, gaps in the outfield or whatever.
Right.
So, nah, that's not going to be a problem.
Do you
anymore.
think the Oakland A's will move to Vegas?
Somebody's going to?
Right.
I think you're going to see stupendous success with the look at Vegas. I mean, you've got a built-in. They could build 100,000 seat stadium and it would be full for everything. Like it just would. There's so many people. What are you going to do? They'd be giving all the tickets away. At the what do you call the guy that gives everything away at the hotel?
Oh, you're the
concierge.
Concierge.
Yeah. All your big gamblers would be getting free tickets to everything. They could draw twice what anybody else draws. I don't know. I like the Vegas idea. I know that when I go to Vegas, I want to eat and I want to gamble a little bit and I want to go to a pro football game. That's what I want to do. So that'll be a big improvement. Speaking of football, awkward transition. NFL's going on today. Did you see the game Thursday?
The Oakland,
yeah. Your Raiders made a freaking miraculous comeback.
The catch at the end?
Yeah.
No time left.
Yeah, right.
To Crabtree. It was amazing.
That people wonder, I keep hearing that the ratings are down because of the whole Trump thing and them not standing at the anthems and how all these people have left. Although I heard an interesting thing last night at 3 a.m. listening to SportsCenter that the ratings are not down among Democrats. They're only down among Republicans. They poll people, and really the ratings are holding among. It's a political thing. It's all the Trumpites not watching football because they're mad about the kneeling in the anthem.
But you just don't watch the beginning. You're fine.
Yeah.
Just don't watch that. I think they just want to find some reason to say, oh, this is why the ratings are down. Because they've been talking like for at least 5 years. Each year they're like, oh, well, the ratings are down lower than what they were the year before. I think what I think is have you ever watched the NFL Red Zone channel? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's the problem.
Did you just ask me if I've ever watched the Red Zone channel?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have the Red Zone channel?
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time in my life watching the Red Zone channel. Yeah.
So
probably I should have been doing something else.
But I think that's part of the problem. Like part of the problem is
not that I was watching it.
Yeah. Well, no, that you were watching it. That's
the problem.
Right. I guarantee if you poll Democrats and Republicans that work in the NFL, they'll say that because Gary was watching the Red Zone. That's why. Because people aren't invested in the games like they were before. Like your common football fan might have a team, but if they don't live in the city or they don't have the Red Zone, if you have NFL ticket, that's fine. But having the Red Zone is like all the great stuff. It's like the porn with all the stuff that you like the most all together.
Are you familiar with the phrase "preaching to the choir"?
Is that what you?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I totally agree with you.
Also, like
that porn comparison is very apt.
is fantasy football too? Like people aren't watching each game. They're watching a bunch of stuff, or they're on their phone or whatever, which is totally fine. But you can't create something else. The NFL created these things, and then like, oh crap, well, it's not selling the same way on this old thing. Like, you just sell it on the other thing too, so you make your money that way.
Well, they just got to such a high point that there was nowhere to go but down. I mean, you can't get. My grandma's never going to watch it, So they got everybody. The fantasy football thing's interesting because that's where they really started getting like women and people who don't like football, whatever. But you get into fantasy football and you're competing with your boyfriend and your friends, and next thing you know, you're watching a game to see if your all-star receiver catches 3 touchdowns so you can win the.
Right.
It's that really has carried them a long way.
But seriously, the Red Zone is part of the problem. Like, you can't I've watched it before. Sure, it's great, but you can't be like, well, no one's watching these whole games. Yeah, of course, because all the stuff's right there. It's like instant Sports Center for all the stuff.
Yeah, we had the NFL package, which came with the Red Zone, and we had all the games that we wanted to watch, and we were watching a few games in their entirety, but we would switch around when things happened. We also had like the dual screen TV where you could watch like a game and then watch something else in the other window, And so if the NFL had 100 games at a time, I'd watch them all.
Right.
I would have that eye surgery where you get fly eyes put on so that all this each facet of the eye could watch a different game.
Is that an actual surgery?
Yeah, Tiger Woods had it. That's what happened to his golf game.
Yeah.
So people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but his surgeon was in D.C. That's how I heard that. I used to live in D.C.
I thought
don't
it
know
was.
if you knew that.
I thought it was his real life coming to light is what I thought brought him down.
So one other football topic we need to address. Somebody on this show, I'm not saying who it was, accused you of
doing
trying in fantasy football,
right?
Because you were undefeated and smoking everybody.
Oh, am I still undefeated?
And well, I have a message from that person for you.
Okay.
They retract that accusation, apologize for making it. You are not, in fact, trying.
No.
Yeah. So.
Do I need to make an official statement?
No. It's pretty clear.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes without saying that you are not trying. So I just felt bad that person
said that about me. I thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
No problem.
Will you tell me who said that? Will you write it on a sheet of paper?
That was me.
It was.
Yeah, it was me. I said that.
And now you realize that I wasn't trying at all.
Yeah, I looked at you and I are actually playing each other today.
Okay.
And you have, I think you only have one player in the lineup who's
playing.
I think you had the Giants. Right. No. You only had one player that wasn't playing, but when I got out of my car, it was 73-9. And so I said,
in my favor or your favor?
In my favor. So I said, I was probably wrong about that whole Lewis thing,
right.
Because although if in fact you were trying and you just thought that the Giants receiver that's out for the season might miraculously, then I apologize. I don't want to insult you if you were trying and I'm saying you're not trying. That would be bad,
Well, maybe
I don't want to hurt your feelings.
The thing is like, who else is going to have him in? So if I have him in, then I'll get way more points than everyone else because they'll be like, "Wow, I had no idea this guy was even going to play." So maybe I am trying. You don't know, Gary. Maybe I am.
I have to tell you, I'm really missing not being able to make some sort of weird non sequitur and bring the show to a crashing halt and watch Blair start screaming. I guess I didn't realize how much pleasure I got out of that.
Right.
And I can't interrupt myself with a non sequitur and bring the show to a screeching halt. So it's really not the same for me today, I got to tell you. I don't know if I like this format.
Yeah. Well,
it's tough.
Like I said, it's different. It's going to be different now. But maybe you'll appreciate whenever Blair comes back. You'll be like, wow.
Blair's anger, I guess, have you ever seen on South Park where Cartman wants to drink the tears of whoever, like when remember that sixth grader when he killed his parents and then cooked the chili or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he wants to taste his tears at the end. I never realized that Blair's tears brought me such, not real tears, but like symbolic show tears.
Sure.
Brought me such pleasure until I didn't have them. You don't realize until it's gone. You don't miss it until it's gone,
right.
Lewis.
And now you're like,
yeah. So
tears.
Speaking of Blair, what time? If you were Blair, what time would you want us to call you?
I don't know. Well, do you know what she's doing today?
Yes, right this minute. I think she's sitting in the, not the good New York airport, the other New York airport.
What's the good New York airport?
Well, I think JFK is probably the good New York.
That's
airport.
The best one.
Yeah, and I think she's at LaGuardia. So I don't know. Last time I was there, or no, maybe she's. What's the one in which one's in New Jersey?
I have no idea.
There's another even worse one in New Jersey. I think that's where she is. I don't know. Maybe if young swashbuckler Mills Waxwell wanted to fact check that for next week, we could learn something about the New York aviation infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. You want to call her now?
I was thinking maybe we could. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, sure.
Is it? I guess it's.
Do you want to hand me the phone?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Here you go.
All right.
Oh, my microphone just rose up a little the way it rises up on her all the time, and I always make fun of her. Now I see what she's dealing with. This really isn't funny at all. It's very serious.
Let me find the cord.
I got to tell you, I'm really looking forward to the quiz.
Oh, you have a quiz for us?
Yeah.
What is the...
It's called the Girl Power Quiz.
Girl Power Quiz.
Yeah, she was telling me how I had to, ask her what her sports topics were and, all this stuff, and then make some quiz that was, something about her interest or whatever. I'm like, blah, 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 whatever. I'm going to go find a bunch of... First of all, I Googled female sports disasters, and nothing came up. they were talking about like planes crashing, like that kind of disaster.
Right, yeah, that's not
killing
fun.
the badminton team, you know. So I didn't want to
What
do that.
badminton team
Well, I
died?
don't know. I don't know. But I didn't want to do that, you know. So I was really thinking, you know, some sort of like women's basketball team that missed the shot and woman couldn't ever get to the WNBA or something. But there just isn't anything like that.
Breaks her leg horribly.
Yeah. And then I was just going to do women's trivia, sports trivia in general. But, you know, nobody cares about archery or whatever sports women play. So instead, I decided to open it up to just really ridiculous trivia about women. And
is there even trivia about women, though?
Yes. No, there's a lot of that.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, I found some stuff that I did not know. So I'm looking forward to it.
Do you want to unlock your phone?
I guess.
You have a very nice case, by the way.
I do have a nice, much nicer than the phone, for that matter. Let's see.
Would you like to give out Blair's phone number?
No. So what do I do? I just call her?
Yeah, just call her.
All right.
And it should work.
I am dialing. Let's see what we got.
Oh, there we go.
Hello.
Hello, Blair, and welcome to the, what is this called?
My Fantasy
My
Wife.
Fantasy Wife podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Is this Gary?
It is, Gary. Let me tell you who we've got in the room with us. First
please.
of all, we have extremely talented show host Gary Hames. You might know him.
Oh. Hey, Gary, how you doing?
And then we have, no, wait a minute. He didn't want anything to do with this. And then we have, no, he didn't want anything to do with this. Oh, we've got Lewis. He's here. Say hi, Lewis.
Hi, Blair. How are you?
I don't
good. Is that Louis Bishop, Man About Town?
Yes, I tried to describe that to open the show. I didn't do a great job, though, so I'm glad you said that. I want everybody to know that he is, in fact, the man about town.
Comedian, sound engineer, comedian, and Man About Town, Mr. Louis Bishop.
Yes, see, we miss your professional approach to introductions. I'm not as professional as you are. So.
Well, you're getting lots of practice.
Yeah.
Just practice.
Yeah, I did forget the name of the show twice, but.
And he forgot my name.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't forget it. It just took me a second.
Right.
I completely forgot the name of the show.
That's like last night I was on a show, and this guy asked me if my last name was Strong. He said, Lewis, what's your last name again? Strong, right? I was like, no.
No, I think he was just complimenting you. He was saying, yeah, that's a strong last
Strong.
name.
Oh,
that
yeah,
you've got.
true.
Yeah,
true.
That's
I agree.
Right. It's memorable.
I took it the wrong way.
Right. Well, I'm thrilled to be on the My Fantasy Wife podcast as a guest.
Right.
And it's exciting, and I'm sure now you appreciate the difficulty of trying to have conversations while also trying to think about what you're supposed to be doing next.
Hang on a second. I'm thinking about something. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Actually, I don't find it difficult at all.
Well, Blair, if you don't know, we like to talk to our guests, our comedian guests, about things that they like and don't like. But real quick, before we get started, I just want to read a quick little bio on Blair Postman. Blair Postman has high energy storytelling, stand-up comic with no chill. Her material, excuse me. Her unexpected material includes tales of living with recovering alcoholics and the history of Super Bowl halftime shows. She's featured, Huh? Did you write this, or is this on your website? It's on my website. She's been featured on featured for amazing headliners, including Arsenio Hall, Aaron Foley, Andy Henderson, Eddie Ift. There's a lot of people on. Email Phillips, Ben Roy, Sarah Schaefer. The list goes on and on, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Lots of people way more famous and accomplished than I am.
That's also Blair has featured and showcased at the wonderful venues, including Good Nights in Raleigh, Dead Crow Comedy Room, Richmond Funny Bone.
This is the longest introduction ever.
It goes on and on. But seriously, thank you for being on the show, Blair. Thank you.
Wow. Tremendous. That was something else.
Louis sounds a little far away, so I don't know if there's a way we can put the phone near him.
All right. I'll just speak up.
Doing the best I can. Sorry.
No, you're doing a great job.
It's a little tougher to do that when all of our people are not here.
Right.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction.
You're welcome.
Where are you? You're down at the beach?
I am in LaGuardia Airport.
Ah, it was LaGuardia. We had a big argument about that earlier, about which airport you were at.
I'm at LaGuardia, and I'm a couple gates over from my actual gate, and to find a place where there are fewer people, so slightly less noise, fewer people to annoy. But I am in no, excuse me, see, I'm right by the trash can, but I am in no way in a private place. So this should be interesting.
Would you say that Gary said earlier that JFK was the nicer of the two New York airports? Is that correct?
I have heard that. Now, if you are also including Newark as a New York airport, I have heard that, but I haven't flown in or out of JFK in a number of years. So I would be willing, sitting here right now, I would be willing to bet that's correct.
Yeah, that's like asking a person, Harris Teeter is better than the Food Line, right? And the person goes, I ain't never been there. So.
Interesting.
Well, yeah. Well, it's probably JFK probably is nicer because if you remember in the early '90s classic film The Coneheads, Beldar is taking Drew Carey to LaGuardia, and the character that Drew did I say Drew Harrison? I'm going to say I'm going to say Drew Carey. Drew Carey. The character that Drew Carey plays looks like he isn't as nice as a person that would fly out of JFK. So
I think that 25-year-old or so film is as good a reason as me.
Yeah, I think so.
A second Dan Aykroyd reference of the day, though.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Can't wait to hear the show, can you?
Yeah, I really look forward to hearing the entire show. So, how can I help you guys today?
Well, as our guest, we were fascinatedly looking forward to hearing about your lifelong sports interests. So I know that you grew up in northern New Jersey, and I know you were a cheerleader. So I'm assuming cheerleading has some place in your sports pantheon. I know you, and I strongly suspect that you consider cheerleading a sport. So would you say that's true?
I was also, well, I wasn't just cheerleader. I made varsity sophomore year. And I was senior year co-head cheerleader.
Wow.
So, just so we
insert dirty joke here.
Yes, insert dirty joke here.
Okay.
But I'll let Lewis
We'll put it in post production.
In post,
yeah.
in our extensive post production.
Right. Yes.
Mechanisms. But yes, I was head cheerleader. But I always preface it by this: we weren't especially good.
The cheerleaders.
We had this. Yeah, we had the second highest GPA of any varsity team. So, there was, I don't recall there being anyone who could do like a back handspring, for example.
Wow.
I mean, I could jump up into a split, and we had a couple people who could do like back walkovers, and we did some.
Let me ask you a question. How come I don't know that? I'm just curious.
That's why I'm doing the podcast.
Okay. All right.
As Mr. Wills Maxwell would say, he would go either 132 episodes, and it's just coming out now.
Wow, yeah.
But did you not know I was head cheerleader?
No, I knew you were head cheerleader. It's just the whole split thing.
This was a nice school you went to, right? It was a good school. It was the JFK of schools.
It was public school, but it was a good school. It was relatively small.
Okay.
Relatively small, and we also when you say that women, whether cheerleading was a sport or not, I was also co-editor in chief of the newspaper. And
well, then cheerleading's a sport.
I mean, damn sure.
You got me. You got me on that one.
The sports editor wrote an editorial about how it shouldn't be.
Ooh.
Yes, but he didn't know who he was messing with.
No, she.
Oh.
And then I had to. Or somebody who was on, maybe it was an editor,
okay.
Maybe it was a reporter.
Honestly, was she ugly?
I had to.
Ugly and unathletic. Because I'm trying to think of what kind of woman would say that cheerleading wasn't a sport, and I'm guessing that she had to be, No.
You're really making it difficult for me to agree with.
See how great that is? We were just commenting that derailing you was, not being able to derail you during the early part of today's show was really taking the enjoyment of the show away from me.
I know.
And suddenly I feel fantastic again. So
it's like I'm trying to decide on which sexist comment I want to
right.
side with, and it's difficult.
Well, save it, because, geez, you're going to need some of those retorts in the quiz. I guarantee you that.
Okay. So, but yes, I was head cheerleader, and there are more acts. I've heard in the last year or two reports that there are more either broken bones or concussions or accidents in general in NCAA cheerleading as any sport or maybe it's high school cheerleading.
Well, if that's the
Like,
standard
for
for
the
what
peop-
is a sport, then airplane crashes are a tremendous sport.
Well, I'm just saying it can be dangerous,
Right.
but not the way we did it.
Okay,
No-
so
no
you were a
danger.
cheerleader.
What was your favorite? Did you cheer for basketball and football?
It was I cheered in high school mostly just for football. I did one season with basketball, and for some reason, it was not cool or popular, and so there were a lot of seasons we didn't have basketball cheerleaders. I don't know why. It just was the way it was. When I was a kid, I went to CCD, which is like Catholic Sunday school.
It's a lot like
and,
Catholic Sunday school, yeah.
Yeah, and it qualified you to either play for the boys basketball team or cheerlead for the team of that school. So I cheerled for St. Mary's basketball from when I was like in second or third grade,
Right.
so like eighth grade, something like that.
My thing is, like, in high school sports, though, like, it always seems that in the cheerleaders always get in the way. There's not enough room.
Wow.
No, and not enough room in basketball. Like
Yeah, that's in basketball in particular. In football, there's playroom.
In football, it's
on
totally
the track,
fine, yeah.
it's fine. But in basketball, there was a danger element involved. There was a lot of high pressure.
Sure.
You'd have to plan cheers of like, here, this is timeout cheer. Like, we're gonna just kind of quick do this while there's timeout and hope we don't get killed.
Right.
You know, there was a lot of pressure. There's high pressure. There's danger.
A lot more
And that's the
moving
danger
parts.
from doing a lot of moving parts. A lot of trains running on time.
Well,
Right.
assuming that since you are still alive, you didn't get killed. Good job.
No, did not. Man, thank you.
And so you fell so in love with sports as you were watching them from your cheerleading vantage point that you decided to go to one of those SEC football factories and root for the Alabamas or LSUs of the world, right?
No, not at all. I went to a very small school.
Which school was that?
I went to Washington and Lee University.
We got both kinds, Washington and Lee.
Washington and Lee, yes,
Yeah,
both
all
kinds
right.
of problems.
Okay.
But we've got, I believe we paid Wofford College.
They had both
football.
sports there, country and western.
It was a big, like, we had a lot of, I realized it was sort of a preppy school, but I'm just from New Jersey. I didn't really totally appreciate how preppy it was until I got there. And there were sports that I had no familiarity with.
In all seriousness, were they not a lacrosse powerhouse at the time that you were there?
They're a lacrosse powerhouse, and I think they still are, men's and women's. And they were also a water polo powerhouse.
Nice. That shows you how nice the school was.
Well, you have to understand that means that there were enough people coming there for college from high school
That knew how to swim.
that had full water polo programs.
Mm-hmm,
So you imagine what kind of schools have water polo programs.
I'm
and
thinking
I
like
think you get the idea.
California schools.
Yeah.
We did have a number of California, but Florida and some others.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Which one's nicer? Which one's the JFK and which one's the LaGuardia? Is Washington and Lee or William and Mary out of the schools with two names?
Well, Gary would tell you Washington and Lee
Definitely.
was the
Not even
preferred one.
Not even
But,
close. William Mary's much bigger, though.
Yes, William Mary is bigger, for sure.
But no, you got your people who couldn't get into Washington and Lee went to William and Mary.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, from
According to Blair.
in-state Virginia.
Right.
No, that's according to you.
Right.
In-state Virginia.
Me, what's the difference?
Right.
Right. So. So you got out of there and you became an agent. So you were representing like football players. Not exactly, but like you got to do some like all I remember is when we went to that wedding thing that time that Bill Walton's walking down the street and yes,
Brian Bobbitt's
that's him. And Bill Walton, famous basketball player, is walking down the street 7 feet tall, and Blair just goes running up to him, starts chatting him because evidently he had done some work at our agency.
Yes, I was a personal appearance agent for various places, mostly at Washington Speakers Bureau for about 5 years there, and they represented a lot of motivational speakers, among other things, that would do like corporate events and stuff. And a lot of them were sports figures from the 60s and 70s and 80s. And then as I was there in late 90s, early 2000s, it was more and more challenging to get the best known sports figures to be motivational speakers because they had actually made quite a shit ton of money
Right, I guess as
in
the
sports.
the contracts get bigger, their desire to go eat cold chicken at the Kiwanis Club or wherever you book them is less.
Right.
Right.
Like Terry Bradshaw needed to make tens of thousands or 15 or 20 or whatever $1,000 a speech for years and years afterwards, but John Elway did not. Michael Jordan did not.
No.
You know, people would call and ask us to try to get those guys. It's like, sorry, man. They don't have to.
Yes, Michael Jordan's busy going to that dinner club where they serve only endangered animals, and it's $1 million a plate, so he didn't need to go. Yeah, right.
Right.
Okay.
But you know, the big so Bill Walton was one of ours. Lou Holtz, Terry Bradshaw, a few different Coach K.
Wow.
A lot of different coaches.
So you got not just average coaches, but you also got Coach K.
Yes.
Well, he got like twice as much money as anybody else because of his excellence.
Well, it's been a few years since I worked.
But then he
there,
donated to charity because he's a saint. The man's a saint.
Well, I don't know, but
he probably gave it to North Carolina because they needed it so that they wouldn't have to have those fake classes to get everybody graduated.
Do you want to hear my answer, or do you
Drew.
want to remotely criticize Drew Harrison?
Go ahead.
Yeah, he was very in demand, and he did get more than a lot, and he didn't take as much because he's a busy man. But at the same time, you know, it's all a supply and demand thing, right? So we had Jim Brown, who was, and then we had like a lot of Olympians. We had, you know, like Burt Carter from gymnastics, and we'd always get a flock of people, you know, after each Olympics coming in who would try to be speakers. We had Mary Lou Retton. I once met Jim Brown. He's a sportscaster, right, for CBS. And I think
James Brown.
Yeah, James Brown.
Yeah, okay.
He brought in, like, we were coming into an agent's meeting, and who's in there with him but William the Refrigerator Perry. And we had a lot of, like, people who, like, were skydivers, mountain climbers, and people who were, like, and the thing is, it was so sad because you get these Olympians, these gold medal Olympians and other folks in there, and there was just, there wasn't enough of there was such a high level of the kind of corporations and stuff we were working with that it's just like, look, we had too many gold medal swimmers or whatever. You know, too many gold medal track people. We can't represent all of them.
What was the worst place you ever booked for someone? Like the hell gig that you got for somebody?
Don't say Dead Crow.
We didn't. No. We didn't have a lot of bad. These people didn't go bad places. They went to maybe small towns. They went to small colleges and stuff. We didn't. I mean, one of the most interesting, has nothing to do with sports. I mean, I had Christopher Hitchens speaking at my old college, and he brought along and we drove because it's not really near an airport. It's about 3.5 hour drive from DC. And we drove with, you know, this is before Uber. I think we had just sort of a black sedan driver who was recently immigrated from Russia or Ukraine. And along for the ride was a reporter from the Wall Street Journal who was doing a piece on Christopher Hitchens. So, like, that was crazy and memorable. And we drove back and forth in one day, and he wanted to go out and drinking with the students afterwards. It was fascinating.
Is there a reason that every time you get a limo, there's a crazy driver from the Ukraine?
Yeah, I was telling somebody about that last night. Yeah, I think it must be a feeder industry for people from that part of the world. You know what I
used to drive tank. Now I drive limo.
Right. In Russia, limo drive you.
Right. The scariest event I ever had was a now politician who did not please a live event room full of people, and they booed him off stage. And James Carville comes to me in the elevator and says, "Oh, wow, that was really scary. That went badly." He wasn't the one who they booed off stage. He saved the day. I can't even go into the details because I'm afraid I'll be killed.
Donald Trump?
Yeah, but the sports people were pretty straightforward. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, you know.
I think she just said yeah to that.
Yeah.
You just confirmed it was Donald Trump? Is that what you just said?
No, it was not. Oh. It was not. He did speeches, though. I don't think I ever booked him.
Who was the guy that you said that saved the day? Who was that?
James Carville.
James who?
James Carville saved it. James Carville, the political strategist for Bill Clinton with the deep Louisiana accent.
Oh, yeah, the weird, narrow little head
the bald guy. Yeah,
okay.
Huge gambler.
Movies and stuff.
Huge gambler?
Yes, he's always on, like, the Tony Kornheiser show, giving the lines for the weekend and his picks. And
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to listen to him on D.C. on the radio station then when Tony Kornheiser had a radio show before he became as famous as he is now, and they would let him pick against a monkey.
So I think my plane's going to board in about 15 minutes.
Okay, well, let's get to the quiz then. We don't want to miss this quiz.
Okay.
So after carefully taking all of your sports topics into consideration, I decided to make a quiz that I lovingly call the Girl Power Quiz.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
I'm going to
and so I at first I thought, okay, I'll have I think the first thing I Googled was women's sports disasters, and I was going to do a trivia thing on that, and then there just wasn't anything, you know. So
we never let that happen.
Yeah, and then I was going to do like female sports trivia, and it just wasn't, you know, I was reading all these things about a particularly bad volleyball match that didn't go well in 72, and I was just like, no. So I decided to expand it to just trivia about women in general, and since you are such a feminist, I figure you'll get 10 out of 10 easily and hold the record for this, and now every time we have a guest, we can say, well, the record was Blaire Postman, who is a, you know, a very intelligent, and especially with the college that you went to, this should be a snap for you.
So this is just about women doing anything at any point in history?
Girl power trivia.
For any girl power moment at any point in history, any place or time.
It is defined and bounded by the title Girl Power Trivia.
Okay, there's a pun in there that I'm not.
No, there's not. I'm just saying that yes, that leaves it quite wide open for the. Okay.
I just checked. I have 21 minutes, but I also
okay. Let's go. All right, question number 1. And I'm going to have to read you all these since everyone that has anything to do with this show just blew us off today.
Okay.
What god in Greek mythology dressed as a woman, spun wool, and performed other womanly duties for 3 years to appease his fellow gods?
This is ridiculous. What?
I know they studied Greek mythology at that fine liberal arts college you went to.
No, you're.
I'll give you a big hint. Here's a big hint. Big hint. It's actually I wrote that right off the internet page, but it's actually not a god. It's a demigod. And that's a huge hit.
Okay. Oh, okay. Read it again. This is stupid.
What god in Greek mythology dressed as a woman, thereby making himself a person in the girl power trivia, spun wool and performed other womanly duties for. What?
Your first girl power question.
It's about a person who dressed as a woman. The title was Girl Power. He dressed as a woman, so I guess he's not a girl. I guess he could dress as a girl. Is that different? I don't know. And performed other womanly duties for 3 years to appease his fellow gods.
Do you even understand why this question is sexist?
I'm throwing you a softball so that you can get off to an easy start.
Is it Athena?
No. It was actually
Mars.
It was actually I said demigod. Mars is an actual god, and I said Greek, and Mars is a Roman title. Wow, you really butchered that. The answer is demigod.
You're a Latin and Greek professor.
Well, the answer is demigod Hercules.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I got a real problem with you putting this under the head of girl power.
Well, that's only one question. Let's listen to the whole thing, give it a chance before you get to that.
This is what happens.
Question number 2. A famous American actress, mind you, was the first woman to run a U.S. airline. What was her name?
Run a U.S. When? What year?
Well, she is an old-timey actress, so I'm going to guess it was in the early development years of airplanes, 30s or 40s would be my guess.
Carol Lombard.
Actually, Maureen O'Hara, but that was a pretty good guess. So
as we continue on this journey about women, any point in history from the ancient Greek all the way up to human flight.
Yes.
You know,
have done anything.
You can say it as many times as you want. It doesn't change. Listen, I'm trying to honor our better half, the woman of power and importance throughout history. Yes. Number 3.
You know, Blaire, just because we believe that women have had a history from forever, and I guess you don't believe that.
Listen, I think number 3 is going to convince you that we're not all over the place with this, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that most of our quizzes at least have some boundaries of time and space. But go ahead.
I don't know that that's true. Number 3. Demi Moore, early in her career, a woman, I might point out, appeared in what low-budget 3D horror movie in 1982?
No fucking idea.
Wow. Really? You've never... Well, okay, this is a pretty famous movie.
Coming at you.
Okay, no. It was called Parasite. Demi Moore, very famous actress.
That's a girl power question in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, because normally if you're talking about being menaced by giant slugs, what do you think? Man. Yeah. Machine gun, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like blowing them away and saving the day.
Okay.
So
I got maybe 15 minutes.
Okay. Number 4. Now listen carefully. Born Florence Nightingale Graham, she was better known by her business name, which became a cosmetics empire. She became one of the wealthiest women in the world. Who was she?
Mary Kay.
No, that is Elizabeth Arden.
Ooh.
Good guess, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Don't worry, Blair. We're doing pretty good so far. You're 4 down. We have 28 more questions to go.
Right.
Here we go.
This is outrageous and objectionable on every conceivable
Make
level.
sentences. Number 5. This is a poem, by the way.
God almighty.
Okay. Okay. She singed the royal Spanish beard in the harbor at Cadiz, a fiery monarch to be feared with all the pluck there is. She was said to have the heart of a king, and though by suitors she was harried, a husband would not be the thing, though her father was much married. Who was she?
Elizabeth I.
Say, there you go.
Oh, ding, ding, ding.
Wow. Got all of that out of that.
Great. And this is in the same quiz that involves Demi Moore in a 3D movie. Okay.
I'm trying to be well-rounded. You always wanted me to be well-rounded.
You have succeeded.
Okay. Question number 6.
Halfway there.
Yes,
Finish
halfway
strong.
there. On May 16th, 1975, Junko Tabe became the first woman to do what?
Ooh.
Say that again?
No, that's incorrect. Oh, that wasn't your answer. You were asking me to repeat the question. Okay. On
No,
May
repeat it.
on May 16th, 1975, Junko Tabe, famous Japanese young lady, became the first woman to do what?
A couple ways I could go here. I'm going to say scale Mount Everest.
Yes!
Oh, wow!
You know a lot of those Japanese mountain climbers, do you?
No, I'm just thinking the time frame, and she wasn't, it wasn't going to be something Olympic in '75. And my other thing was maybe win some kind of marathon, but I went with the mountains.
You're very smart. She later
thank you.
became the first woman to scale the 7 summits, which is the highest mountain on each continent. So she was pretty big deal in mountain climbing.
I know that, but thank you for mansplaining 7 sevens to me during the girl power quiz.
Okay, none of them have an umlaut, by the way. Number 7, you should get this one. This has one of your favorite people in it. Okay, number 7. Famous wit Dorothy Parker once said of this woman's theatrical performance. Do you already know who it is?
No,
I'm just
I
curious.
know Dorothy Parker.
Okay, yes. Once said of this woman's theatrical performance that she ran the gamut of emotions from A to B, which is funny because normally say A to Z, which implies that it was very limited.
I get it.
Yeah. Who was she insulting?
Oh, God. What? Give me a hint. Give me a movie, something.
The loons, Henry. The loons.
Yeah, that was gonna be my guess.
Really? Well, aren't you sorry you asked for a hint? You would have sounded like a genius.
Nah, Katharine Hepburn.
Yes, and for extra,
that's pretty obscure. So
for extra credit, who did she leave her entire estate to when she died? Dorothy Parker.
Oh, God.
This is really, I think, incredible. I didn't know this.
I feel like it's the NAACP.
You're very close. She left it to Martin Luther King. I would probably give you that.
I'll give you a half point.
Yeah,
half
absolutely.
point.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So, number 8, a pioneer of nursing and also a massive hypochondriac. She kept a small pet owl in her pocket. Who is she?
Florence Nightingale?
Yes.
What?
Did you know that Florence Nightingale carried a pet owl? Her name is Nightingale, and she carried an owl.
Right.
She was also a huge hypochondriac.
She wasn't worried about her brand, she could have been way bigger than what she was.
Yes, right.
They would never fly today.
Yeah.
Her branding people would never.
No, they're like, what? You got an owl? Your last name's Nightingale.
Right.
Get out of here.
I mean, now,
bizarre.
They're a little unwieldy, but feel it would be on brand.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Number 9, Mary Anna Randolph Custis, granddaughter of George Washington's stepson, married one of the most famous generals of the Civil War. Who was he?
Harry Lighthorse Lee.
It was actually Robert E. Lee. You're close.
Robert E.
It's
Lee.
considering your school is named after him and he was the first president. I thought maybe you would get that one. But yes, you were close. That's very close. You actually, if you'd have just said Lee, we would have had to give you credit.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
All right, Lee.
All right. Okay. Ding, ding, ding.
All right, we'll give her that.
So, yes.
All right, sure.
All right. Number 10.
Who did you say?
All right.
Who was the other guy you just said?
I said Lee's father.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. So,
Jeez, I didn't know you knew so much about.
well, she went to Washington and Lee. So she's.
When you said Washington, I thought it was earlier.
Right.
But go ahead.
Wrote that question just for you. Hope you liked it. Number 10. Now, I admire the answer. This is an answer to this person is someone that I admire, and I did not know this had happened to him.
Okay.
Bess Throckmorton, lady in waiting to Queen Elizabeth, fell in love with and secretly married a famous English aristocrat, writer, poet, soldier, courtier, and explorer. When their secret marriage was discovered, he was sent to the Tower of London. I don't know why. I guess he wasn't supposed to be with this woman. Maybe he had another wife. I don't know. But anyway, he was sent to the Tower of London and eventually beheaded. She had his head embalmed upon his death in 1618 and carried it with her for the rest of her life. Who was her famous secret husband?
Elizabeth, or you mean the woman's?
Yes.
This woman's secret husband?
Yes, she fell in love with, and it's a very famous event in history. She secretly married a famous English. Listen to these descriptions; I'll give it to you. Aristocrat.
Wait, no.
What?
How is this a girl power question?
Because this woman loved her husband so much that when he died, she had his head embalmed and carried it with her for the rest of her life. That's girl power.
Okay.
All right.
You think
but
so?
wait until you see who it is. It's a really good question.
I don't
You want to take a
know
shot?
who it is.
English soldier, courtier, and explorer, 1618 death? No guess?
Sir Walter Raleigh.
Yes!
Oh my God!
Wow! You are so smart.
Ding, ding, ding.
How did you know that one?
There you go. It was a good guess.
Why do you sound so angry?
I'm not angry. I just am endlessly thrilled with what you consider to be questions for this podcast about girl power.
Well, good.
And if they are...
so you're saying after all these years, your husband still thrills you?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
exactly what I'm
all
saying.
right. Okay. I can live with that.
All right, babe. Well, I gotta go get online, go to this plane.
Blair, real quick, do you have anything coming up? Anything you would like our listeners to know about?
I do. I'm going to be hosting at the Cucaloris Festival in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
I think it's the 10th through the 12th of November.
Okay.
And then the week after that, I'm going to be in New Orleans at the Hell Yes Fest.
Okay.
For a bunch of shows and eating many things.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Have they officially changed the name of that Cucaloris Festival to Cucaloris, Fran, and Ollie?
No.
No. Okay. I'm just curious. All right.
I get it. I love you. Pick me up from the airport.
What time are you getting there?
8:50.
All right. I'll be there.
Bye, Louis.
Thank you. Bye. That's Blaire Postman, guys. Check out our website, bpcomedy.com. Once again, bpcomedy.com. Well, she's nice.
Wow.
She's a nice person.
We'll have to have her back.
Yeah. We'll have to get her back on.
Sometime.
Yeah.
After you get some time's got to go by, though, because you can't have the same guest every
time.
week. Right.
Every week. She did good.
I thought she did.
6 to 4, 6, right? And a half. 6.5.
And I think she missed the first 4, so I thought she was going to the toilet. And then she got them all right after that.
She did.
Whatever. She actually came fairly close to settings. You're only a couple short of the record.
Yeah, that was
and I got to tell you, that might have been one of the harder quizzes.
I think something that you were spending the existence of man's writing down history.
Yes. As long as we were able to honor women and girl power, I'm happy.
All right.
Okay.
True.
All right.
Well, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think we're probably done on that note.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you, everybody, Brian Bava, for listening to the show today. And hopefully, if we haven't totally turned you off, you can come back and listen next week when more of our normalcy will be in place. But until then, have a great week, and we will talk to you next Sunday.
Thank you.